Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Gail Hanlon, and this is Everything Homeschooling. So today we're going to continue from where we left off last week. Then that was Everything Counts. The same thing, everything counts. Everything that you're doing counts. Everything that your child is doing counts. You matter, and what you're doing with them and what they're doing matters. So I'm excited to do this. We're going to have some great articles. Please, if you would like to join the show, click the link that's in the Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube or Twitter description, because that will allow you to join me on the live and maybe ask some questions in person. If not, feel free to comment, and we'll see you in about 2 minutes. Well, I'm glad everybody's here with me today, and I think everything that you're doing is important. And it's not just me that thinks that. It is the reality. It's the truth. What if I told you that you could be, or your student could be in university as early as next month? How is that possible? If you have homeschooled or unschooled for part or all of your child's life, then there is nothing to stop you. And although there are conventional and what I call the learn-free ways of getting into post-secondary and education, because we have university and college, and now we have so much available online. You can, there's always a way to achieve our goals. And they aren't hidden, although you won't find them on the university and college websites. So let's look at what our kids are doing from 12 and up. I'm not saying just, kids as young as 9 have gone to college and university, so I'm not leaving them out. I'm saying pretty much any age, if they are focused and motivated, self-motivated. We were talking self-directed education, where they see something and they learn. Now, this might mean that kids do something all the time that us adults think is not important or not valuable. We might not see them trying to achieve their goals at a young age. But around the 12-year-old age, if you research the brain and how it develops, you're going to find that around that age, the brains shift a little in the complexity that they are able to handle. So in a lot of history books, you will find kids 12, 14, between those ages, running their own businesses, doing amazing things. So don't ever think that you have to choose the conventional way and all the hoops and whistles and bells that they require, because that's not the only way. And the first place that I want you to look at, because this is not just me, this is not just, making this up out of thin air. Go to universityadmissions.ca. Now, this is for Canada, and you may be from another country. If so, put a comment in or join me, and we can look into the types of things. But all these methods work anywhere in the world for the unconventional ways of getting into university and colleges. So, first of all, let's go through the conventional ways. Let's understand what we're being asked to do. So, know in your area what your laws or what the universities request. You can go on their webpage and they're going to say what their policies are for home educators, international students, and children or learners from your area that are going through the conventional system. So, home educators are outside that conventional system. You do not have to follow that regime. Now, there's nothing wrong with doing it that way. If that's what's comfortable with you, if that's what your learner and scholar is made for, then that's great. I had one child of mine that was a total academic, couldn't get enough of book work. They exist. They're out there. You might not have any. That's okay, because there's always a way. I think the first important thing to do is to recognize that your goals for your child and their goals for themselves, which they may not have decided on yet, are very different. Maybe most of the time. Our kids don't follow the polished path that we create for them. And I think this is a generational thing. We all want to give our children more than we had, and more opportunities, more ease of life, right? But then there are tiger parents and people who just want to, which is perfectly all right as well. If you don't want to be bothered and you just want to send your kid and let somebody else do it, and you choose what they do, you just got to be aware that they might choose something completely different when they get old enough to speak up for themselves. Or they may be perfectly happy. But this is where we can discuss the difference between the conventional and the learning free way. So, at any age in Ontario, you can, and pretty much everywhere else, you can research who the instructors are. So how do you know what you want your child to do and whether it's what they want to do? First of all, don't get anxious if they're doing that thing that you think is not valuable and you're like going crazy. Oh, they're 10 years old and they're not doing, anything motivated. They're just and watching things that are funny and keeping themselves entertained. That's not doing anything. It has value. And I'm happy to go through that as I have previously, but in a one-to-one situation. So, for instance, some people who have driven their parents crazy and focused on something that their parents thought was absolutely inane and unnecessary was the young man who spent every day reading The Lord of the Rings. He read it, he watched it, not watched it because it was before the movie was made, but read it, and every book that had anything to do with it. He studied those stories to such a degree that he taught himself the languages that were in that story and expanded on them to give them the linguistic strength that a language has to have. And so when the movies were being done, they researched an expert in those languages. And this person got the job because nobody else had really paid that much attention and studied it exclusively. Like, that was all he did. And his parents thought, he's not going to come to anything because he's not paying attention. He's not learning all the, checking off all the boxes of subjects of geography and history and all those things. He was just focused on Lord of the Rings. And what kind of job could he get with that? Well, turns out a pretty darn good one. And was able to influence generations of people who love Lord of the Rings. There are so many other stories, and I'm not going to bore you with them. And I don't think they're boring, gotta say. But I'm not going to take all of our time doing that because half an hour goes fast. So, conventionally, if you choose as a home educator, remember, you don't have to, but if you choose to get credits to be equivalent or to go through AMDEC or VLC or ILC or locally in Ontario, those are the AMDEC, I think I mentioned that, virtual learning, they are able to give you credits because you're going to be doing the same thing that your child would be doing if they were in school. So they can give credits. There are so many other ways to get equivalency credits. So what I'm talking about here is you observing your child as if you were their teacher, because you are. When you excuse your kids from attendance at school, you are their teacher. Now, I don't personally like the word teacher because I love George Bernard Shaw's quote, "I am not a teacher. I am just a fellow traveler of whom you have asked the way. I pointed ahead of myself as well as of you." So when I looked at my children, I took that understanding of the word assessment to its literal foundation, which means to sit beside, not to judge, to sit beside, which means you are engaged with your child, with your student, with your learner, and in a relationship of knowledge, of love, of learning. So you're helping them learn how to learn and not just stuff. Going back to getting credits, the conventional way that we're all familiar with for the last 200 years, 150 in Canada. So you register with one of these places to get these credits, and then they give you a transcript. One of the things that you can do is create your own transcript. So I'm going to give you an example of what one of the transcripts that I do when I interpret life, this is the learn free way that I describe. You can take everything you're doing in your everyday life as a teenager, as 12 and up, whatever, to be compatible or equivalent with what the system has. So this is, if you're choosing that conventional way, you want to give them a transcript. There are several ways to do it. So one of those ways is, and I'm going to show you what our transcript looks like first. Where'd you go? There you are. Nope, that's not you. This is you. Okay. I'm going to drag it over here and focus on it right now. to a website where you can put in your own information and print it out. So I have students that do this just for their own understanding of who they are, what they're wanting, and to grasp how much work they've put into it. So let me, all right, let's see. I just have to go into my history because I thought I had it up, but I didn't. So let me jump into this and find it. So close. So with the teenagers that I coach and mentor, I help them decide how they are going to judge themselves on what they're doing. So now I'm going to switch to the browser. Quickly go to how do you get into a university or a college without any of that stuff? And that is the learn free way. So you have a right to learn. It is a natural thing that you do. Innate. Your brain will learn, whether you want to or not. You don't always get to decide what you're going to learn. I'm sure everybody out there has learned things they really didn't want to know. so, so let's talk about finding out what your interests are. Next week, we're going to focus on a wonderful place. It's called Pathways to Jobs.ca. This is another Canadian thing, and I'm going to open this up in my browser. teenagers who want to do things their own way. So I'm going to quickly give you a brief taste of next week. We're going to be talking all the sideways and under the stairs ways and through the window ways to get into college and university if that's what you want. Because not everybody wants to. So if you want to go to college or university, make sure you read the Skip College book, because then you'll have a different perspective and be able to really choose it because it is what you want. Or be able to say, oh my gosh, I didn't really need that, and I don't have to put all that effort and money and time into jumping through those hoops. So then there's the entrepreneurial route. So next week we're on the Learn Free Way, and the week after that we will be doing entrepreneurship for the high school level. So you've got 3 different things there: the conventional way, the Learn Free Way, and I like the freeway part of it because it's busting through. And then you've got entrepreneurship. So if you have other suggestions for high school, please comment and let me know. Thanks so much. And I am going to be turning on the questions and interaction on Clubhouse right after this finishes. So if you want to join me on Clubhouse, I am Learn Free on Clubhouse.